Dr. Theresa Wozencraft, Associate Professor and Licensed Counseling Psychologist. Theresa, would you tell us a bit about your education?
Yes, I have my undergraduate bachelor's degree in psychology from Nicholls State University in Thibodaux, Louisiana. And then I went to University of Southern Mississippi in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And from there, I obtained my master's in counseling psychology and then my doctorate in counseling psychology. So I was there 4 years at University of Southern Mississippi, then a 5th year on internship.
And where were you interning?
At the VA Medical Center in New Orleans, which after Katrina, that building kind of ceased to exist in the way that I knew it. So it's not quite, things are really quite different over there physically where I did my internship.
I believe that Theresa, Emily Sandoz also did hers at the VA in New Orleans.
Yes, she did. She sure did.
Who were your mentors?
My mentors were Janet Matthews. She's a clinical psychologist who was an academic, and she is the one who really took me under her wing in terms of becoming an academic. And then the other mentor, unfortunately, 2 of my closest mentors are now deceased. The other mentor was James G. Hollingsworth. He was a counseling psychologist in my program. He chaired my dissertation and was pivotal in my training as a behaviorist. He was also extremely demanding and had very high standards. And I chose him on purpose, knowing that, because I knew he would make me a better professional if I just went ahead and did the extra work that would be involved with having him as a chair.
Okay. And when did you become part of the faculty in the psychology department at UL?
So in fall of 2000, I became a full-time faculty member. I had taught the spring before as an adjunct. I had moved over from Midwestern State University where I taught 8 years. And we had moved back home to Louisiana to try to be closer to family. So fortunately for me, someone retired at UL, and it created an opportunity for me to apply for the position.
Excellent. What courses do you typically teach at UL?
At UL, I teach Psych 400, so I get to see many of our majors throughout the academic year. More recently, I have taught Psych 200, which is our relatively new research methodology course. I've taught that once at this point. I teach psychopathology. I've taught that for years to graduate students. And then the other graduate course I'm teaching more recently is the professional issues and standards in psychology. And I teach Psych 110 from time to time. I have taught Psych 370. I have taught child psychology. So I've taught different courses over time, but currently it's mostly 400, 200, 110 in the graduate courses that are the most repeated ones.
All right. Tell us about your research. Is there a framework that guides your research?
I would say the framework that guides my research is my thinking as a counseling psychologist. I'm very interested in resilience, coping with stress, and improving on people's strengths or people using their strengths to address their weaknesses. So as we look at issues in the lab, I like to look at how can we improve where people are in terms of their well-being, and how can we use people's strengths to address areas that they're struggling with. And then I think the other part is I like to look at how diversity, how aspects of diversity may not allow people equal access to services or equal quality of services. So one of the themes through some of my research is to look at how might we not be serving certain groups of peoples, and what can we do to learn more about that so we can do a better job with those groups.
What is the name of your lab?
The lab is the Stress, Coping, and Wellness Lab.
Stress, coping, and wellness.
Stress,
Are there
coping.
studies that you would like to tell us about?
We have 2 studies that are currently ongoing. One is looking at how African Americans' attitudes toward seeking mental health treatment might be affected by stigma and access issues. So that's been really fun to start taking a look at. We're trying to diversify our population a little, or our sample a little further. And then the other part is eating behavior in African Americans. We're trying to look at what eating behavior or eating disorder types of behaviors might exist in local samples of African Americans. And I did this research with McNair students 15 years ago, so it'll be kind of fun to compare the results once those come in. And then the other project that's brand new is we're going to be working with Healing House to look at the effectiveness of their services. They haven't really done a lot of quantifiable data collection. And so my lab will be working to help them to collect data on whether their clients or the people they're serving are seeing improvement in certain areas where we would expect a support group to help people who are grieving. So that's not even to the IRB stage yet. So we haven't even proposed to the IRB. We're in the middle of Healing House said, let's do this. And now we're, buckling down more on the science, picking out assessments. So it's a really fun stage to be creating the methodology.
That is a fun stage. How might students join your lab if they were interested in it?
So it's actually very easy to join my lab because I allow students to start at different points in the school year. So they can come in at any number of times throughout a school year. What you'll get to be involved in, of course, will be impacted by when you start in the lab because we have projects at different phases. And so what I'm really looking at is, can you make a reasonable commitment of time to the lab so you have time to develop skills that you would like to develop as a result of being in the research lab and getting valuable experiences. And since many people would like their lab faculty director to be able to write a letter for them, we have to have meaningful interaction. I have to see how you perform on task. And so I try to encourage people to stay and get meaningfully involved so they can get the most out of it. And, we can look at things like me supporting their needs for letters of recommendation later.
Indeed, indeed. Well, that sounds really good. And of course, I think that the Psych 200 course that we're teaching will help with students joining labs and coming in with a little bit more skill, which is a nice thing to have. Anything else you'd like to talk about today?
I think I would just like to say that the psychology department is a delight to work in. We have a wide range of subdisciplinary areas in psychology that are represented in our department. I also think this is an exciting time in our life as a department. There's a lot of research going on. There are a lot of students involved in research, and there is so much potential for undergraduates to have meaningful research experiences, to get some experience with going to conferences and doing presentations. This is just an amazing time for, I think, both faculty and our undergraduate students and our master's students too, to have this lab involvement in this very vibrant, engaging department to be a part of.
I can't say that I disagree. Thank you, Dr. Wozencraft. I appreciate your time.
Okay. Thank you, Dr.